Hey, hello, good morning, and welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show. Yeah, we're going to hand build some lineups today using the single lineup sims. We do it every single week. Also, I've seen a lot of you guys asking us. I got a lot of tweets the past couple of days for new sims users like, yo, when do the sims update? I'm trying to get, I'm over here fiending for the projections and ownership. Totally understandable. You're never going to see them on Tuesday. No one's, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. We dropped the first one on Wednesday. If Greg and I hadn't told people that do the data, hey, we really need them Wednesday morning, it would probably be Thursday just because you can refine the process a little bit more. But the truth is that when you do the first run of data here, it's going to be pretty crude, right? Like you don't have props everywhere, particularly not from sharper sources. This is just a rough estimate, a first run, but it still puts us in a good position to figure some things out. So Greg and I mentioned it before the show. One thing we want to do on Wednesday before we get into building lineups is just take a look at the projection, see if there's anything in ownership or projection that stands out to us. Maybe we can make some adjustments there, some little tweaks, or just keep that in mind throughout the show. But here's the truth of the matter, Greg. It's football season, and we just want to build lineups. We want to dig into the games, dig into the players. That's honestly more fun, or as much fun as sweating the games themselves, is putting all of the pieces together pre-start. And then, the puzzle can fall apart for me as it did in week one.
Yeah. So, it's also week 2 is one of my favorite slates because of a couple of reasons. You learn some stuff from week 1. There's things that you thought were going to be true that end up not being true, and vice versa. And then also there are big time overreactions in week 2 relative to week 1. You have to figure out like what happened in week 1 is sticky. What actually matters going forward? What do we think in terms of playing time is going to be significant? What do we think in terms of, something like target share is going to be significant? And that's where there are some big edges to be had in week 2 is, all right, who's a guy who maybe might be way over-owned in week 2 because they had this good performance in week 1. And it's like, well, that's probably not going to happen going forward. So, for example, an example from last year would be Isaiah Likely. After week 1, what happened? Everybody's like, oh my God, Isaiah Likely is going to be the best fantasy tight end in the league this year. If you didn't draft this guy in like the 14th round of best ball drafts, you might as well close your computer and never look at your best ball lineups for the rest of the year. And people were lamenting it. And there are people like, I'm ruined. I didn't draft Isaiah Likely. And there's other people like, I already won because I drafted Isaiah Likely. And then he was basically insignificant for the rest of the season after week 1. And he was all that people talked about for a little bit of time. So trying to find stuff like that, I think those are the most fun talking points for week 2.
Well, we didn't even discuss this prior to the show, but I want to know from you. And by the way, guys, if you don't mind, whether you're watching live, after the fact, doesn't matter. Take a second, atone for your sins this morning. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Goes a very long way. We appreciate you guys for that. And everybody in chat, we see you. We appreciate you. Cards ate my wallet. Let's go. Look forward to these every morning. Thanks for making these videos enjoyable, Loughy and Greg. Thanks for watching, man. Without you guys, we aren't doing this at all. So, yeah, absolutely appreciate you, all of you. And if you don't mind, it is free to, hit like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. All that stuff goes a long way. Plus, we like it. Clayton Eskew, behold the genius of self-production. So, Greg, yesterday, and I'm going to go off topic for a second here. I was self-producing, and I meant to do this last week, but there's all these new sound effects in StreamYard. So I didn't tell Ben about any of this stuff, and I just started bombarding him with sound effects, right? And you know how Ben is, just, now he's annoyed. But then midway through the show, he starts playing the random music down there like he's never seen it before. The feeding the ducks and the night driving. You know what I'm talking about down there in the bottom. Completely confused as to why they would be named as they are. Starts playing the sound effects. And you know what? We're self-producing now, so we're going to have some fun with this. But here's my question to you. What do you think the biggest overreaction was to week 1? Ooh. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Biggest overreaction to week 1. I would have to think, because I'm not exactly sure what all of the reactions are to. I'm sure it's going to be. Oh, okay, I know. I actually know what it is now. I know. I'm looking through the teams. I know what it is. The Tua is completely washed. It is a possibility, the Dolphins looked absolutely horrific in week 1. But at the same time, too, I think this is a team that could end up being underowned in week 2. There's a very, very high likelihood that week 1 is the worst game they will play the entire season. And there are these takes like, all right, Tyreek Hill is getting traded in between week 1 and week 2. Tyreek Hill is already on the Chiefs. Tua is just completely incapable of playing quarterback because of the concussions. Tua actually played well down the stretch of last year when he came back post-concussion. So I'm not totally convinced that he's incapable of playing due to the concussions. It is possible those injuries are going to affect him going forward, and it could. But like, I don't think that is the for sure case that a lot of people seem to make it out to be. I'm going to say that's the biggest overreaction is the Dolphins.
I could not agree more with you, but I'll put a little bit of nuance on this. I think it's the biggest overreaction in the sense that everybody will fade Miami this week, but I don't think it's the biggest overreaction in the sense that it is actually possible that this team is in trouble and that they've quit on Mike McDaniel, right? So I think that's entirely possible. However, I'm more than willing to find out on a slate like this, right? And I think that's the point you're getting at. We're willing to find out if it's an overreaction or not, because if everyone is overreacting and just saying, I want nothing to do with Miami, then I'll take my chances in one of the most concentrated offenses that actually can be explosive. What's the worst that can happen? They just get blanked again? Fine. Then those entries are dead. But if you're getting a team, keep in mind, at home, right? They perform much better at home. You have very interesting dynamic with the way the stadium is designed. The road teams, especially you're talking September, the way the stadium is designed is the sun just hovers over the opposing team's bench all game, okay? Whereas the home team and the Dolphins are shaded by everything else. Remember a couple of years ago where the Bills just started like dropping down and all of them were dehydrated? And I think that was the game Josh Allen threw like 98 times and they still lost. Point is, if there was a spot where they could bounce back and have a monster game, especially if Christian Gonzalez is out, this is it. I'm willing to take some shots. I couldn't agree with you more. But also, they may just suck. I mean, they may have quit on McDaniel, and he may truly be fired after week 2.
It is possible. It's more so, though, it seems the consensus opinion is that is already a foregone conclusion. And that's the part that I think is an overreaction, is people have that one game sample size for week 1, and whatever happened in that game, that is their truth going forward. It's within the realm of possibility. I don't think it is as certain as what the public seems to think.
Neither do I. Let's take a look over some projections.
Well, I want to know what's yours?
Oh, well, I think it could be Miami for sure. I also think it's probably the Aaron Rodgers game. Nobody's going to want to bet Seattle this week as 3-point dogs. Nobody. And I already posted this one over on Tails. I think Pittsburgh is going to be a public favorite, -3 at home. Everyone looks at Sam Darnold last week. It was a tough divisional road spot, or a divisional home game against, a divisional spot that is always difficult for those two teams. Niners have a lot of success against them. Darnold's first game with the 49ers. I'm seeing it everywhere, even in the comments on my video that I posted over on OddsShopper. People are already just writing them off. Darnold sucks, this and that. Do I think this translates to a DFS perspective? Maybe not, but JSN had a 57% target share and 91% of the team air yards, Greg, in week 1. So that is interesting, if nothing else. I think that's an overreaction. And I think Detroit just being terrible now is probably an overreaction as well. You have a new OC, a new DC. You lost Aaron Glenn. You lost Ben Johnson. Not like Ben Johnson made good head coaching decisions on Monday night. But I do think there's an angle here where Detroit goes out there and absolutely bends over this Chicago team that may be without Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon again. If that's the case, in the dome where Jared Goff has thrived, and potentially you've got what's the ownership we've got on Detroit right now, like Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams and Laporta and those guys, because I could see them putting the pieces together as the season goes on.
Yeah, so Goff is 2% owned. We've got Gibbs. Gibbs is pulling some ownership, 12.5%. Nothing crazy, but like that's a pretty reasonable mark on him. And then we've also got here for the wide receivers. I'm on Ross St. Brown is 9% owned. We've got Jameson Williams 4.8% owned. Tesla is sub 1% owned, which, that's not massively surprising. No, he's somebody who's getting talked about a lot online because he had that ridiculous touchdown catch, and they're going to increase his snaps going forward. That also is coach speak. It's like he played 3 snaps or something like that. Of course, the snaps are going to increase. There's only one way for them to possibly go. I don't really put too much stock into that. But yeah, you don't have that much ownership going to the Lions of significance. 5% to Jameson Williams, 9% to Amon-Ra St. Brown for the wide receivers, and then you got Laporta 6% owned at tight end.
Okay. So Einsteinium says Darnold's going to lose his job by week 5 or 6. To who? Milroe? Locke? Nah, dude. I mean, if it's that bad, maybe. But we have seen Drew Lock as a starter. Look, he's a preseason stud. We bet on him every year. He's not a quality starter. He is not an upgrade from Sam Darnold. And as much as I think Jalen Milroe is a fantastic project, the only way, Greg, because Jalen Milroe is the type of guy that could either just be out of the league in a year or two, probably let's say 3, because teams will keep taking shots on him in camp and see what he can do, or he's the type of guy that just becomes a good starter because a team figured out how to make it work. The Seattle Seahawks would have to be 1-4 or 0-5 for Darnold to lose his job, because that is not a tough division. 49ers are totally banged up. They're not rebuilding, obviously, but they have a lot of pieces to figure out. The Cardinals are the Cardinals, and the Rams are a good enough team, but they're not a world beater. So you'd have to be in dire straits to just flat out bench Sam Darnold on a big contract.
Yeah, I would be very, very stunned if that is something that ends up happening, especially that early in the season and
Right.
the length on the contract. The other thing, too, is with Sam Darnold, last year was the best year of his career, without a doubt. There's no real close comparison, but he kind of showed signs of breaking out in previous seasons. He played relatively well a couple of years prior to that when he was on the field for the Panthers. He had a QB rating of 92.6. It was only 6 games he played. Then he was the backup for the 49ers in 2023. He was also competent in the few times he stepped on the field. So while last year was his first really good full year as a starter, the reality is that in limited sample sizes, he played pretty decently in 2023 and 2022 as well. So it's not like this is a guy who just had one good year and was terrible the rest of his career. He was terrible with the Jets, and then he kind of showed signs of life, which is why the Vikings gave him an opportunity.
Exactly. And we'll see what they can do. They got Clint Kubiak there. I think he can figure things out. By the way, Keith Jackson said he's sorry he's late. What's up, fellas? He's here, Greg, so we can start the show now.
Nice. Good to know. For what it's worth, also, Sam Darnold has pulled it up on Epic because they are sponsoring the show here. The passing yards for Sam Darnold that people are posting over on Epic, it is 192.5. That is what people are taking action on there for week 2. There's also reality of that. The Steelers are very likely to have a very good defense this year. So this isn't a spot where we really want to be going after the Seahawks passing game. I actually kind of hope that Darnold's strong. I haven't looked ahead to week 3 or anything like that. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. But I do kind of hope that Darnold struggles again in week 2. And then there's a good buy low spot for week 3 and a decent matchup.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Eric, how is Rodgers only 2% owned? I mean, that's where he should be, in my opinion. Going up against a tough Seattle defense, I have no interest. But yeah, we'll see. By the way, two Monday night games today or this week. I love the Monday night doubleheaders, Greg. Very excited. And then Justin says Wilson might lose his job first. No, I mean Wilson will lose his job first. There's no doubt. If I could place a bet that Jackson Dart starts the second half this week, right, and get good plus money on that, I would very much consider it.
The only reason I think it's probably not that likely to happen, and this is something I've discussed at length with my dad, who's the most diehard of diehard Giants fans. They're going nowhere this year, and their schedule is horrifically difficult to open up the year. I think the Giants are kind of strategically looking at their schedule, and they've seen like, all right, week 1 at Washington, week 2 at Dallas, week 3 Kansas City, week 4 Chargers, week 5 there's their actual first easy matchup on the road against New Orleans. Then they play the Eagles, then they play at Denver, then they play at Philly, then they play San Francisco. Then the schedule gets a little bit easier in the second half of the year. So I think they kind of looked at that schedule and they were like, let's just let Russell Wilson take all of the bumps and bruises early, because he is going to get destroyed behind that Giants offensive line to open up the year. And I don't think they want Jackson Dart to take those hits. I think if at the end of the year where there's zero expectations on the Giants, you bring Dart in and it's like a free roll for whatever he does the rest of the season at that point.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I mean, it could just be the problem with that though, is you're looking, excuse me, if this were a small market team, I'd feel differently. Considering this is a big market team that continuously fails and everybody's on the hot seat, Brian Daboll doesn't have the luxury of just playing Russell Wilson and letting them lose every game. So I think you may be missing something there personally.
Could
like
be.
He's gone. He's gone. If this season is an unmitigated disaster, you can't go up to the front office and be like, we had a tough schedule this year.
I think he's gone no matter what. The players haven't responded to Daboll for I can't believe he even came back for this season, considering what the Giants season was last year.
So if you think you're going to be gone, why not just play Dart?
So just because Russell Wilson is a veteran, I think it's reasonable that Daboll probably thinks Wilson gives them the best chance to win. And that Dart is somebody who, as a rookie, as talented as he may be, it's kind of inevitable that he's going to go through some early struggles.
We'll see. How about you want to have some fun? Want to play have a little put a little wager on this?
Okay.
All right. Let's do over under how many games Russell Wilson starts.
So here's the hard part.
To start the season, and it would be voided due to any type of injury. Okay. And the reason I say to start the season is because if Jackson Dart were to come in week 3, then get hurt, and then Wilson, so anything is voided to injury. We'll just say how many to start the season. What do you think is a fair number? If we were to just set, even odds or standard odds.
Yeah. So the one that's really hard is they have that game against the Saints. That's a very enticing game to throw Jackson Dart in as your rookie.
You said they got a tough start to the schedule.
Well, they do. That's week 5, though, the game against the Saints. Realistically, I'm going to say I think week 9, I think.
Okay.
Is when
so over.
No, week 10. Sorry, week 10.
So over under 9.5 weeks.
Actually, let's go 8.5, just because week 9 is.
That's fine.
I think they might want Dart to start at home.
What do we want to set the terms at? What do we want to do? How about
Josh gets a tattoo?
How about an entry into the power sweep?
Okay, we can do that.
And we'll build it out on one of our shows, assuming that projections don't change too much. Like we'll see if we can figure something out. We'll do an entry into the power sweep. Deal?
Yeah, and then voided due to injury, which is probably the most likely scenario here anyway, because the Giants' offensive line is so porous and the schedule is so hard. I think that whoever is behind center is destined to get just killed.
Sounds good. Let's do it. All right, let's build some lineups here. Looking over projections, the one thing that stood out to me, I think Breece Hall's projection and his ownership is very, very low. Again, it's our first run. But I think Breece Hall is going to be actually one of the more popular players on the slate. If I'm wrong, but I don't think I will be. And I think his projection is going to be a lot higher. And I really don't. I also believe that this Buffalo Bills run defense, I know it was Derrick Henry, but it wasn't just like, Greg, this wasn't just one big run from Henry. He had a 30, he had a 46, he had a 49, right? He had 5 rushes of 10 plus. I understand Breece Hall isn't Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's legitimately generational, but Hall looked really good last week. I already posted on Tails his over on a rushing prop at 54.5 on BetMGM. I can't bet there, but for those of you who have healthy accounts, I would definitely bet that.
Yeah, so Breece Hall, and also the game started in a way where even though it leaned a little bit more towards Breece Hall. They did give Braylon Allen some early chances, and Breece Hall was just so much better that by the second half, it was just all Breece Hall. So the final touches for the game, Breece Hall had 19 carries to 6 for Braylon Allen. And then in the receiving game, you got 4 targets for Breece Hall and 0 for Braylon Allen. This is going to be Breece Hall's backfield. I agree with you. I like him at $6,200 for the week. I'm interested to see where he ends up landing in terms of projection and ownership, but he's going to be way higher owned than 2%.
Yeah, he's going to be popular. The other one, I don't think Alvin Kamara will be 21% on. You clearly can't just flip Alvin Kamara and Breece Hall because Breece Hall's at 2%, but I think Breece Hall is going to be higher owned than Alvin Kamara this week.
It's a possibility. It's a possibility for sure. The one thing that stands out the most to me about Alvin Kamara is, there's always been this idea of him more so on DraftKings than FanDuel that he carries value just because of his work in the pass catching game. He had 2 targets in week 1 in a game.
Yeah, and do you know how many times Rattler threw?
Yeah, maybe there's destined to be a quarterback change at some point for the Saints. Like there's certainly going to be one for the Giants, but the Saints, it could be any point in time. Like the Saints could be week 2 that Rattler goes back to the bench, and maybe the quarterback change is going to end up changing the offense to where Alvin Kamara gets more targets there. But yeah, Alvin Kamara at $6,100 against the 49ers. Now with the passing game work a little bit more in question. Yeah, he is somebody who is not going to be 21% on. It's going to come down. It's to your point, it's probably not going to entirely flip with Breece Hall. He's not going to be chalky though.
I agree with you. And don't you think it's pretty crazy? Because I'm glad you mentioned that. If you didn't, that was the first place I was going. Is you're talking about a team, right, that has not a ton of great pass catchers. Spencer Rattler threw 46 times, and Alvin Kamara had 2. I mean, that's unheard of. 2 targets where, Olave had 13. Juwan Johnson was optimal. And yeah, Alvin Kamara wasn't involved. So that's another spot. That's another spot that concerns me for sure. Anything else stand out to you? I'm sure we're going to come across stuff, by the way.
Yeah, so probably one that I agree with in a more positive way. Javonte Williams, extremely favorable game script against the Giants. And he's somebody who the fantasy community has been on for a few years, and people largely gave up on him this year. Now it looks like he's going to be the guy that people thought he was going to be in previous years. Javonte Williams, $5,800 in a positive game script against the Giants. I know the Giants' run defense is probably going to be pretty decent this year, but I think just the volume here when it comes to Javonte Williams, I don't know that he actually lands at 26.5% owned, but I do think he looks pretty solid at $5,800. But with that said, I think this could be a pretty interesting spot to pivot and go with the Cowboys passing game as well in some lineups opposed to Javonte Williams.
I'm with you. I think he'll be relatively popular, but I still like him. The only thing that is going to probably get me off of him, not off of him, but ownership. I may actually have more of him depending on Travis Etienne's ownership. If Travis Etienne after last week, and probably not an overreaction given that they literally traded Tank Bigsby on Monday, right? They did draft Tootin. They like him a lot. They have that LaQuint Allen, but I don't think you're expecting much there. Travis Etienne does appear to be the lead back. This is one spot that I was admittedly wrong on throughout the summer in best ball. I thought Bigsby could get a lot of work there, and it would be an ugly split between 2 or 3. But if Travis Etienne, because he's going to be, I'm telling you now, his ownership is going to be exponentially higher than 3.7%. Etienne's going to be very popular this week. Or at the very least, he's going to be one of the more popular running backs against Cincinnati.
For multiple reasons, and a lot of them are justified too. This is another guy too who kind of like a buy low when you think about a guy who last year in best ball drafts was going pick like 35 or something like that, and then didn't have a good year, ended up in a split role with Bigsby. People come into this year and it's like, I don't know what to make of this backfield. Some people were on Tootin. Some people thought Bigsby was going to be the guy. I saw very few people say that Etienne was going to be the workhorse back for the Jaguars this year. It seemed like it was a matter of time before Bigsby or potentially Tootin later in the year were going to take over. Instead, it's ETN rushing 16 times for 143 yards in week 1. And then right after the game, the day after, they end up trading Bigsby to your Eagles, Loughy, for a 5th and a 6th round pick. So ETN now is $5,700. He seems to have at least for now, a pretty good grip on the backfield, and he gets a matchup against that Bengals defense. So all those things are lining up in favor of ETN. And yeah, he's certainly going to be higher than the 3% owned on the initial run.
Definitely. Jack off. Trading your RB2 after watching your starter gas the Panthers is real buying the top behavior. On the surface, yes, but not really, because they went into this game and gave Travis Etienne all the work anyway. Bigsby and Tootin didn't even touch the ball until it was a blowout, following that weather delay. So they going into this game, they knew what they were going to do. This wasn't just like it was very obvious that Travis Etienne, and we didn't know, but that Liam Cohen was his guy. And I didn't know. I really didn't know, but it's pretty obvious. So
it is interesting to me that they didn't trade Bigsby. Not that it makes a massive difference, but why wait until after week 1 to trade Bigsby? That was it, because it seems like there was something they wanted to see before they pulled the trigger.
Maybe, or they just got the right offer. I want to build a Dolphins lineup.
Let's do it.
Eric Johnson, are people still touting the Dolphins this year? What a trash franchise. Haven't been good since Marino. Look at that timing. Comes in right after I almost the same time I said that. Eric, yeah, they're not good, but also everybody feels the way Eric feels right now, right?
Yeah.
And look, I'm not even knocking the opinion, but you mentioned it at the top of the show. Greg, if everybody feels that way, how in the world are we not? What, did you just lose everything?
Yeah, one sec. I'm working on it here.
Anyway, well, plan B, if he said that 30 per seconds before me, I didn't see it. Anyway, if everybody feels that way, then does this not just make for a good contrarian spot? We know Hill is talented. We know Waddle's talented. We know Achan's talented. So then really at home, you need Tua not to be horrible for one game. I'm very okay taking a stab at that.
Yeah. So by the way, I figured out the filter I turned on and I deleted it here. So you look at Tua, and why do we think he's washed? Because he was bad week 1? Because if it's because he had concussions last year, here was a stretch of games he had after coming back from injury. November 17th against the Raiders, 288 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. November 24th against the Patriots, 317 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. November 28th, a short week turnaround against the Packers, 365 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Then against the Jets on December 8th, 331 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. These are all post coming back from concussion. So he had a bad game week 1, but I just don't buy that it's like, oh, the concussions didn't impact him when he first came back, but 8 months after coming back from concussion, he is not able to play quarterback anymore. I think the most likely scenario here is that he just simply had a really shitty week 1 game. There's the other scenario too, where the team is just completely dysfunctional and they've quit on McDaniels. But like, why would they have not quit on him at the end of last year when they were getting these kinds of results?
Right. Yeah, I see it like this. It's possible that they're terrible, but also why is nobody talking about the fact, what if the Colts are just really good?
Could be.
What if the Colts defense is really just good and that team is really just good? And we already know they have a great offensive line. They have a lot of good weapons, Pittman with a guy that can actually hit him in the hands. Downs didn't even do anything. You have Jonathan Taylor back there. Tyler Warren's going to be ridiculous. Their secondary's good. So what if, Greg, and let's start building. You can start building this while I talk through it. What if the Colts are really, what if the Dolphins aren't great, right? Like, I think the most likely scenario here, outside of it's just so dysfunctional that Mike McDaniel is gone and they've all completely given up on him. Okay, I'll leave that on the table. That's fair. I think the most likely scenario is the Dolphins just aren't a great football team, right? But also the Colts are good and they have a really good defense. Like, I bet the Colts as a home dog against the Broncos this week because I think they're a good football team. So if that's the case, then Tua still has the chance of doing something. So let's build one out. With Tua, do you want to go Waddle Hill or do you want to go Achane Hill? Do you want to go full onslaught here? You tell me.
Yeah, and I'm also just checking Tua's numbers over on Epic. So Tua 233.5 is what his passing yardage line is over there. So let's start with Tua. And just given what the price points are, and because I think this is going to upset people in the YouTube chat as well, let's go Tua with Hill and Waddle.
Okay.
For reference, by the way, Tua is 1% projected owned right now at $5,300.
I think it'll come up a little bit, but not a ton. I don't think a lot of people want to play him. I don't think you're going to have any casuals playing this stack at all.
No.
All right. Next guy in. Just plug the Titans defense in for me.
Sure.
Oh, wait, no, I think is that a Monday game? No, that's on the site. Plug the Titans defense in. They're 2,400.
Okay. We'll go to the Titans defense.
Or whoever is the highest projected at a discount. I don't really care.
Yeah, I'm just sorting by value here. And let's see which is a cheap one. We've got, yeah, Titans is fine. There's nothing that like really stands out as far as the cheap defense.
So let's go that. And then running back. What do we have? We have 6,100 remaining. We're in good shape here. I wouldn't mind trying some type of. I don't care about a run back here. I'm really not even interested in that. Whether it's Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Douglas, Hunter Henry, if you wanted, fine. But let's try a secondary stack. Let's see if we can make something work where it's like Chase Brown and Brian Thomas or Jamar and Brian Thomas or something like that. That would be fun to me.
Okay. Yeah, we could go to Brian Thomas at $6,700, currently pulling 14% ownership. And then let's see, what do we have? Jamar Chase. I'll have to put him into the flex. Chase is 13% owned at $8,100. And then we've got 2 running back spots and a tight end spot left with $5,200 in average remaining salary.
Let's go Chase Brown.
Oh, instead of Jamar Chase? Or
yeah,
both?
No, go Chase Brown instead because I think it'll give us a nice amount of salary.
Okay. Yeah, it also fills one of the running back spots.
Yeah. I don't know. So I wrote a thread the other day, like my 15 biggest takeaways from week 1. And I think, by the way, Jeff, that Chase ownership is going to come up. Jamar Chase. I know you mentioned it in chat. That's going to come up. And the one of the biggest takeaways was we knew that Chase Brown would be the bell cow, but he had 100% of the running back rushing attempts for Cincinnati. 100%. And Samaje Perine, all he did was had 2 targets. So Chase is just a clear bell cow here. And I like the idea of having him and Brian Thomas, little secondary stack there. We still have 5,700 per player to work with. And if we went cheaper at tight end, that's going to open everything up.
Yeah, so let's see. What are the tight ends looking like? I could get behind this. The top projected tight end value for us, it is Fannin. He's somebody else I buy into. He was so involved in the offense in week 1. It is very clear to me that they want, whether it's him in the backfield, whether it's going to be him running routes, the Browns seem very intent on getting Howard Fannin the football.
Yep, and he was also just better than David Njoku. So plug him in. Look, now we've got 69.50 to work with. We could go McCaffrey here. I'd be very okay with that.
Looked totally healthy in week 1. Hilariously, the only healthy player on the entire 49ers team.
It's amazing that somehow everyone else got hurt except McCaffrey, who everyone thought was hurt. Is that 6,400? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got McCaffrey. This isn't going to change. McCaffrey's project for 30% ownership. He's going to be very chalky at running back. We'll see who else ends up playing for the 49ers. Seems like Brock Purdy's status is in doubt. We know George Kittle's out. Juwan Jennings, his status is in doubt. That can make Ricky Pearsall end up looking better if there's potentially no Jennings and no Kittle. But yeah, I mean, probably the safest way we look at the 49ers offense right now is they're probably going to want to give McCaffrey the football just a ton and a great matchup against the Saints.
Eric, quick question. Why not run it back with Hunter Henry? You can, but what's Henry projected for, right? So if you're running it back with go to all of just go to New England if you can, Greg, just to see what I'm talking about here. You have all of these guys that are going to be projected between like 8 and 10 fantasy points. See, like Douglas around 8, Diggs at 9, Stevenson, Travion Henderson at 9.5, Hunter Henry at 9. I think Hunter Henry's a fine run back, but I do not think this is a spot where you need to force a New England run back at all.
Yeah. I mean, another funny thing too is talking about what the expectations were coming into the season versus the reality. We've got Stevenson and Henderson projected for about the same fantasy points now. This is something else too. I mean, Henderson was getting drafted in like the second and third round of best ball drafts by the time he got close to the start of the season, whereas Stevenson was like a 12th round pick or something like that. And then week 1 comes around, they just have a pretty similar workload.
Which isn't unsurprising at all. The idea there is that Henderson pulls away as the season goes on. I think that's fair to say. But both of them sucked last week. The offense was putrid. Do you want to see what happens if we complete the lineup instead of doing it on our own?
Yeah, it's going to be Javonte Williams that shows up. So I'm going to take the defense out just so
that's a good idea.
A better defense that shows up as well. Let's see. And it is, this is hilarious. Oh, you know why? It's because I only have that one game selected. All right.
What were you going to say?
Because Hunter Henry showed up, but it was because
got you.
Because I only had the Patriots game selected. All right, so completing the lineup here. Yeah, so Javonte Williams and the Cowboys defense, easy. Correlation ended up showing up there. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay, let's see.
Tua, McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Thomas, Hill, Waddle, Fannin, Chase Brown, Cowboys defense.
Wait, hold on a second. So who it just added? Oh, Cowboys with Javonte. That's sweet.
Yeah. Came out not great, not terrible either. 16.1% sim ROI.
I think it has something to do probably too with just the Miami stack. I'm trying to think if there's. Let's do this. Let's try something fun. Let's just leave. Let's lock the Miami players and see what else it gives us.
All right. So if we clear the lineup,
for what it's worth, I actually love.
Yeah, maybe we have the Miami players. We might have the Miami players projected so low that there's just nothing that'll sim well with them right now.
Yeah,
but
that's why I want to
see if we go to.
Go ahead.
All right, so we've got Kelsey at tight end now. We've got Kamara did show up in the lineup. The Ravens defense, Juwan Jennings. By the way, if Jennings is healthy and good to go for week 2, that is, and if Purdy is healthy as well, $4,800 is a crazy cheap price point. For
Definitely.
him.
I don't like Kelsey this week personally. Eric said that's a pretty chalky lineup. I don't know, dude. I don't know how chalky Miami is going to be.
2 is 1. You can't have 2 is 1% owned.
Yeah, like it's not.
There are no chalky Dolphin stacks. The chalk on Miami is HN. The passing game is very, very low owned. Waddle's 4% owned. 2 is 1% owned.
Yeah, right. I think this will change a bit. Like I don't love Kelsey. Okay, can I give you my personal overreaction to week 1? This will be fun. I think Travis Kelce might just be washed.
I think that's what people have thought for a minute when it comes to to Kelsey. His fantasy game was fine in week 1 because he scored a fairly long touchdown.
Yeah, wide
That's
open.
kind of all he did the entire game.
That's it. No one was around him. They forgot he existed. He was so bad. And it's nuts, man. Hey, does Epic do they have a rushing prop on Breece Hall?
Let's see.
Very curious, because the fact that I can play the picks format on Epic in Pennsylvania is huge. And if you guys aren't there yet, man, excellent opportunity to take advantage of an awesome peer-to-peer format, 100% deposit bonus up to $50, which is big these days. And use code ODDS1, ODDS1 when you sign up, and you'll grab that bonus. Look, I know plenty of you guys are on some of these other pick'em sites. The one biggest differentiator here is that you're all making plays against the house, right? So every time you make a card or a lineup, right? You put your plays in, whether it's a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6 pick, it's against the house. You know what that means? Not just that you have a real chance of being limited, but also, and I think this is more important, because not everybody out there is the sharpest bettor, is the sharpest, pick'em DFS player. So it's not going to affect everyone as far as limits go. Some people go, oh, that's whatever. To me, the biggest thing more than anything else is the payouts, right? You look at these fixed odds payouts on some of these other like traditional type DFS pick'em sites where it's not peer-to-peer, and the payouts are without question not in your favor. And that goes overlooked on these peer-to-peer books. But Greg, that's the same reason you have some of the peer-to-peer betting sites and exchanges and stuff like that. When you have these payouts where you look at it and you go, wow, I don't actually know how I could win long-term given these payouts, because I don't like to use the term rigged, right? But it's like a carnival game. Some people know how to bounce the ball off the rim of the basket and get it in, but usually people go and they keep losing and they wonder why it's happening. They have no clue. It's because there's only one way to do it, and most people are doing it the wrong way. So the peer-to-peer stuff is massive, whether it's the tournaments at Epic, whether it's the 50-50s, or the pick and fade, where you can legit just fade other people's plays. So if you think you are sharp, and some of you are in here, you can go in and fade plays that people have submitted and match those plays and put your own money down. Very cool format.
Yeah. And by the way, Breece Hall, his rushing yard number is 54.5.
Yeah, give me the
over on Epic. But keep in mind, too, that we're expecting pretty decent pass game involvement for Breece Hall. So let me see if there is a rushing plus receiving yard prop on him. Let's see. Rushing. No, that's passing. Let's see.
Does Epic have rushing plus receiving?
I think so. Yeah, here we go. All right, rushing plus receiving for Breece Hall. Nothing up at the moment yet. So we don't have that number. We don't have a number for him in that market yet. I'll guess, though, it's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 80.
Yeah, and I want the over. I'm not trying to overreact. I want the over on that. The Jets play the Bills really well at home. Like the last 3 seasons at home, the Jets have won, and one was with Garrett Wilson, and then 2 of them might have been with Wilson. And then they lost by 3 points last year. So I understand. And one of them was that crazy kick return, like in overtime, I think it was. But I know some of this may be an overreaction and all that good stuff, Greg, but I still have some interest. Actually, they won the 9-11 game against the Bills. Wasn't that it? Wasn't it the Rodgers injury game that they won against the Bills? I think it was.
Did they win that game?
I think they did. It was 2 seasons ago, right? 2023 season, home opener. Yeah, 22-16 overtime win. It was on that crazy kick. I think it was Xavier Gibson, who they just released with the kick.
All I remember that game was Rodgers tearing his Achilles. I didn't even remember the end result of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they won it. Xavier Gibson. All right, what do you want to build? This is on you. I had the Dolphins. And then, chat, we will give you one here to build.
All right. I
That'll
gotta
be fun.
unlock the Dolphins players. They still have Hill, Watt. But that lineup did end up coming out pretty solid. 78% sim ROI was what we ended up getting for that last one. I want to try making a Cowboys stack, but of the passing game instead of going to Javonte Williams. So first run of ownership here, we have Javonte Williams projected for 26% ownership, whereas we've got Dak Prescott 6% owned and CeeDee Lamb 12% owned. I know the taste that's left in people's mouths is CeeDee Lamb dropping 3 passes in the second half of the last game, but
who cares?
If you just look at the overall, he still had well over 100 receiving yards. He got a ton of involvement in the past game as well. Dak Prescott isn't all of a sudden going away from CeeDee Lamb. Based on our initial projections and ownership, we'll see what this looks like as we get closer to Sunday. I think one of the best ways you can get leverage is by looking at the Cowboys passing game and hoping that's how they score points instead of with Javonte Williams.
I want you to know this.
I love it. And this is, I want in. Also, I'm going to start a poll, right? With four different options, right? That we will give the chat. They have to pick one stack here that we build. All right. So you can start building. If you want to throw Pickens in there, I'm all about it, by the way.
I'm not super high on Pickens for the year. He also didn't have a ton of involvement in
No, but he had the thing about Pickens is that he could have 2 50-yard touchdowns in any given game. Like he had a lot of deep attempts. There were also 2 targets that got called back on pass interference, Greg, both of which were downfield. One of them was around the pylon. So I hear you. I'm not in love with him, but there are going to be games where these 2 guys dominate together. If you just want to go with a skinny stack, I don't care, but Dak Prescott's not a runner. So we could throw Ferguson in there, but I think if we're going to do this, the Dak +2 makes more sense than a skinny.
So, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Ferguson's only $3,800, and at $3,800, I like him as a value tight end as opposed to going to George Pickens. So, like, if I look at the slate overall, I like Jake Ferguson at $3,800 relative to the tight ends around him at that price point more than I like George Pickens at $5,800 relative to other wide receivers at $5,800. Like, I can make a strong case that Ferguson is my favorite sub 4K tight end, but I can't say the same about Pickens as my favorite sub 6K wide receiver.
All right, so plug in whoever you want there.
All right, so we've got Prescott, Lamb, and Ferguson. I don't have a strong desire to have a run back from the Giants. Like, sure, if I'm going to plug somebody in, it would be Neighbors at $7,100, but there's other pay up wide receivers that I prefer. And also, I think the Giants offense is going to be a train wreck for the majority of the season. So Prescott, Lamb, and Ferguson. I'm actually just going to, all right, I'm going to just lock in these core of players. I'm going to set the randomness to 10%, and I'll just have it complete the lineup around these players and see what shows up.
Okay, let's do it. And by the way, before you mention that,
I want to take Javonte Williams out, though.
I did just start a poll. Greg, for our third and final stack here. So it would be Lions 2-man. Okay. And guys, answer this if you're in chat, even if you're not talking in chat, come in and tap that. If you're at work or wherever, tap that. Go ahead, tap that. Lions 2-man, Bengals Jaguars game stack, Cardinals 2-man, or a Josh Allen skinny with a Jets run back. That to me could be a fun one. And right now, it is neck and neck with Bengals Jags game stack. So it seems like we're all on the same page, but I like all 4 of those options, and we'll see what we land on. So what did we come up with here when you completed the lineup?
Yeah, so I did realize that there is, they came out pretty good, 43.2% sim ROI. It is kind of hard to use the optimizer and not have Javonte Williams show up in lineups. So I had to fill out the running back spot and make sure there wasn't enough salary for him to be in the lineup for him to not show up. But it ended up being Dak Prescott, Chase Brown, Alvin Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, Zay Flowers, DK Metcalf, double tight end Jake Ferguson at $3,800 and Dallas Goedert at $3,800. And then the Ravens defense at $3,700 and came out with a 43.2% sim ROI.
All right. I kind of like that. Zay Flowers' target share was absolutely bizarre last week, and I think it may continue. Not at that clip, but if honestly, if Flowers ends up being around the 30% target share and healthy this year, it would not shock me at all. Truly wouldn't shock me. All right, so we have the votes. It looks like the Bengals-Jags game stack is the winner here by far. Do you want to do that one on FanDuel?
We could go ahead and do it over on FanDuel now.
Let's do
Let's
it.
check
And
the FanDuel side of things.
Before we do, just if you guys are interested, right? And I would assume many of you are. Even if you this is the thing. Even if you guys took advantage of the promo, right? Even if you took advantage of any of the promos that we had on the first leading up to the first week of the season, and I must say they were very good promos. You can still stack months of the core sims up package. You can stack months of any sport you want. Even if you were like, hey, I have NFL right now. I use the promo. You know what would be cool? I'd like MMA sims, or I would still like baseball for the remaining, 20 days plus the playoffs, or any other sport that is ongoing. If you go to the link in the description, right, where all you have to do is sign up for any of our partners. See, it says join any sportsbook. It's sportsbook or pick'em site. Gets the Stokastic sims free. If you sign up with any of them, all you have to do is deposit $5 or $10, place a bet or set a lineup, and the moment that bet settles or that lineup settles, take a screenshot of it, okay, and send it to and a screenshot of your welcome email. Send it to us at support@stokastic.com and just tell us what you want. Tell Ron what you want. He handles these all the time. Hey, I signed up. Here's my settled bet. Here is my screenshot of my welcome email. Can I get another month of NFL core? Oh, yeah, no problem. How about the next guy? Well, I signed up for Caesars BetMGM and I signed up for Chalkboard. Can I get 2 months of NFL and a month of MMA? Hey, pal, you got it. 3 months of core sims coming right up. It's the easiest no-brainer promotion that we have. If you haven't done it yet, and there are any of these that you are not currently on, take advantage of that because it's a 5 or 10 minimum deposit. Not to mention you're getting a match deposit bonus. On some of these sports books, you're depositing 10, betting 5, and getting $200 in bonus bets. And you may just win your bet and be free rolling entirely. So worst case situation, you deposited 5 or 10, you made a bet, set a lineup, and you got a free month. So check it out if you haven't done so yet. 4 simple steps. You just have to click claim offer on that link and you're in business. But yeah, dude, stack those months if you haven't done so.
FanDuel.
Let's do it.
FanDuel. All right. So what ended up happening with the voting?
All right, let's see. The voting will conclude this. 41% Bengals Jags game stack. You know what's interesting though? 33% Josh Allen skinny with a Jets run back. I love the idea of that. The least votes came in on a Cardinals 2-man. I really thought a Murray plus like a Kyler plus Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride could be something that the people would want, but that's not the case. It's a Bengals Jaguars game stack.
Keep in mind also the Cardinals were fairly popular in week 1 and just Marvin Harrison had a decent game, but on the whole, the Cardinals didn't really deliver in week 1. People are just going to be sour, and especially because of the matchup against the Saints, people are going to be kind of sour on them. We never got, unless you saw something on this, we got that report Sunday morning that Kyler Murray was dealing with an illness. He was going to play, but he was added to the injury report. Did we ever get confirmation on what that illness was? Because that definitely is something that I think is reasonable to think contributed to them having a ho-hum performance in week 1.
Yeah, he had sackitis. I don't know, dude. Every time I looked at that game, he was losing 16 yards on a sack. I could not believe some of the sacks that Kyler Murray took in that game. Like, there was one where I'm pretty sure they were in field goal range, and he got sacked for a 16-yard loss. Like, how do you allow that to happen? I don't know.
I did come away with that with a little bit of, I like myself some football conspiracy theories, Loughy.
Yes, I know you do.
I like myself some football conspiracy theories. I'm wondering if word got out that Kyler Murray wasn't feeling 100%. Remember, I'd sent you a couple of days before that came out. There was like very odd, massive money postings on exchanges on the Saints side of the game.
You're right. And the Saints, you might be on to something. Also, that's a great call. The Saints should have covered. They had every opportunity to win. The Falcons underperformed. And while they did cover, I think it was a 20-12 game. If you went back and watched any of that game, at no point did you look at it and go, man, Arizona is dominating. It wasn't that wasn't the case at all. And Rattler had a chance to tie it up, presumably, would have needed a 2-point conversion. But towards the end of the game, they were driving. So that was it's a one possession game. And Arizona did not look good. But back at home this week against Carolina, I do like them.
Yeah, I had a couple of tilting positions for week one. One was the Saints. The other one was the Browns. Browns covered the spread, but I had their money line too. They absolutely should have won that game, which I will not get over until I forget about it, which will probably be in 2 days. But anyway, let's build the Bengals Jaguars game stack here.
Let's do it. And this is on FanDuel, but it works on DraftKings too. I actually built a couple of them and they look great. I built one with Ben yesterday without data on the First Look show. Check that out if you haven't done so yet. And it looks nice.
Lawrence or Burrow?
$1,000 difference. Let's go Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. And then we could go Chase Brown. One thing I
actually
wait.
No, can we flip it for a second for me? Let's try Burrow. Because we already put Chase Brown in the lineup. Let's try Burrow with Higgins and Chase.
Okay.
And then, see if it works. See if we can go with, we want to go full game stack. See if we could go like Travis Etienne and Brian Thomas.
All right. So if we go Etienne's pretty expensive on FanDuel and also doesn't project that well for us right now. So that could be an issue just in terms of the sim ROI, but we'll see if it actually works from a salary perspective.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I think it's actually a very fair price point. But to your point, we're not projecting him all that well. But I think that price point is fair on him today. Or this week.
Completing the lineup around Burrow, Etienne, Chase, Higgins, Brian Thomas. We ended up getting, this actually doesn't look too bad. Javonte Williams, Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is way underpriced at $6,300 on FanDuel.
Wow,
he's going to be mega popular. Jake Ferguson is also way underpriced at tight end. He's only $5,200. Yeah, there are pieces here that FanDuel has missed the mark on in terms of pricing. Flowers at $6,300. Ferguson's too cheap at $5,200. Javonte Williams at $6,300. He's going to be crazy chalk on FanDuel. So yeah, that actually did. I thought we were going to get some real shady looking players around the really expensive players that we had from the Bengals Jaguars game. It really looks all right though.
Let's sim it out. And then before we go, I think it looks okay too. But before we sim it out, or before we go, let's go and run just a zero randomness optimal on DraftKings and FanDuel, just to see what it's giving us right now. I think we'll have a pretty good idea. 10% here, probably because of Etienne. Take Travis Etienne out, put one other guy in and see what happens.
Here, I'll go 0% randomness. I'll clear the lineup. Now I'll complete it. And let's see what we get instead. Now it's Javonte Williams, Tony Pollard, another one, $5,900 price tag on Tony Pollard. We ended up getting Kelsey at $6,200. So what ended up happening here is we went from ETN. Most of the lineup is pretty similar. We went from ETN to Pollard, and then Jake Ferguson turned into Travis Kelsey. And then we got the Cowboys defense instead of the Dolphins defense. So it was only a couple of changes. Everything else stayed the same. But let's see what that ends up doing for the sim ROI.
It'll bring it up a lot because Pollard right now is projected higher and is $800 cheaper. But I expect, there you go. I think Travis Etienne's projection and ownership comes up a lot throughout the week. And I'm pretty sure you agree with me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. So this one ended up coming up pretty good on FanDuel, 70.9% sim ROI. Let's go and make a similar build over on, do you want to do the same one, Jaguars, Bengals, or a different game?
No, I just want to see how many do we need to fill out if we were to complete a lineup? Any? Or
It doesn't have to be any. We could do 0 and just press
yeah,
complete the lineup.
I just want to see right now what we're getting. I know this will change for sure, but I want to see what it would be right now. I assume Kamara, Javonte, yeah. Josh Allen.
But I've been telling people who they want to know what's the best way to use our tools for cash games. I've been saying just go to the single lineup sim. If there's a couple of players you like, put them in the lineup and then just press complete the lineup at 0% randomness. You don't need to don't run a sim for cash games, but either just go in and start the lineup with either a couple of players you like or just a couple of super chalk pieces on the slate, press complete the lineup. And I think that's what you should be doing to build a cash game lineup using our tools. But yeah, if you just want to see, as of right now, this is the optimal projected lineup in our projections. It's Josh Allen, Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara, Zay Flowers, DK Metcalf, Juwan Jennings, Travis Kelce, Ted McMillan, Ravens defense. That'll change a bunch by the time Sunday comes around for multiple reasons. New injury situations opening up, projection changes as we get more information. But as of this moment and our initial projections around, this is the highest projected lineup you could build with our data. By the way, Jay Sakemi in chat wants to know, is there a promo for the single lineup sim? So all the promos that we had for week 1 are now ended. So make sure to take advantage of those promos whenever they pop up. But you could take advantage of our link join offer. So sign up for any of the partners on the page down below in the YouTube description box. All of them are on screen here. For each one you sign up for, you get 1 free month. So that is going to be the best promo for you to take advantage of. It's free.
Yeah, and look, these are the steps. I'll show you right now. All right. These are the steps. By the way, come follow Greg and me over on Tails if you haven't done so. Links down there. We are having fun. I got a ton of bets posted already for this upcoming week. I know you got some for Thursday Night Football. If you look down there, follow Loughy on Tails, follow Greg. Literally all you have to do is click follow. That's it. And Greg and I are, I think, the only people that are only putting free picks up. There's a lot of free picks there from a lot of different people who also have premium packages. We have all of our picks are going to be free this year. So we'd love to have you guys come hang out and come tail our picks. I have a bunch up already, Greg. We have a bunch going here. All these sides, some Houston. Oh, this is going to be a fun week, and I can't wait for it. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to show you guys this. These are the 4 steps for the link join. Like Greg said, if you want to get the single lineup sims, I mean, it's better than a code. It's essentially free. Choose it. Use claim offer here on any of those. Click claim offer. The link's in the description. And then just take screenshots of your welcome email at first settled bet and email them to us. As many of these as you want. Every single one of them equals a free month, and you can stack those free months. And that's all there is to it, man. Anyway, anything else before we get out of here, dude?
Now, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, check out Epic Fantasy. You could go and sign up there, and your first match is going to be 100% match up to $50. So deposit 50, get 50 over at Epic. Use the promo code ODDS1, and yeah, go check it out. Peer-to-peer site. Matt Downs, he is somebody who is a fantasy sports player, somebody who's a bettor, and he has built a product that he would want to use for himself as somebody who's involved in the space. So go check that out because I think he's building something really cool there.
Bye-bye.